For the third of these videos about how to use Google Classroom, I'm going to go through how to use the Classwork section. We've already looked at Stream, which is more just for conversation and announcements and so on. So this is really where the meat of what you're going to be doing is likely to be placed. At the top of it, you'll see there's a big button that says Create. This allows you to create a variety of different things for your Classwork section. So I'm going to go through a couple of these today. Probably won't get through all of them because the videos that I can make are a maximum of 10 minutes long. So we'll probably make it as far as looking at topics, reusing post materials, and maybe even questions. Probably going to leave assignments for a second video or for a separate video because it's a reasonably involved process. It's pretty straightforward, but it takes a little bit of time. So first of all, topics. Most of us arrange our courses via kind of units or topics that we cover. And so the classroom is set up to allow you to do this. Simply clicking topic allows you to create a new topic. So for example, I'll say Unit 1, exposure, and I'll add that topic. So I now have that Unit 1 topic. I can create other ones. So I could say Unit 2, editing, and so on and so forth. So when I place any assignments, questions, or resources, I can arrange them within these specific topics as I go along. If I want to reorder them, we have a little button at the side here that allows me to delete them, rename them, or move them up or down by, you'll see, doing that. So if I've got to reorder them, I'm going to change the way I do things from one year to the next, I can quickly do that. So that's pretty straightforward. The next thing that I can look at is the reuse post button, which is actually really handy when you have been using Classroom a lot already, but is actually really useful if you have a colleague who has been using Classroom for the same class. Because if they have created a load of posts in their class and you're a co-teacher in their class, you're able to go and find their class and reuse a post. So if I click on this, Mr. Sharp has very kindly created a template class here for the Digital Literacy S1 class. And if I go into there, I can see all of the posts that he's made. So I could choose one of those and I could simply reuse it. So I don't even need to write anything up or do anything. He's already got it ready and I would just hit assign. Okay, so I'm not going to do that because I don't want that to be posted, but there you go. I'll just delete that topic because that's related to the lesson that I was just about to reuse by Mr. Sharp. So that's your topics, and that's the reuse post button. Reuse post is really, really handy. It does save you a lot of time. I'm just going to refresh the page because it's a bit slow to load there. And I can delete that. You'll see it's made a draft of that post that I was going to reuse. It's kind of a handy feature because if you get halfway through doing something and have to go away, you won't lose it. But we'll just delete that because we don't need it. So other things I can create. Materials. If I wanted to provide materials for pupils that are simply kind of reference materials, like a course specification, I could do that. So maybe at the start of the year, I'm going to have an induction, and part of that induction involves getting them to read the course spec. So I want to move that up to the top, move up again. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create material. I'm going to find the course specification. Now, I might have it in my drive. I can't remember. I'll have a quick wee look. No, nothing's coming up, so no problem. I'll just go and search for photography course specification. That's me there. And I can just copy that link. And I can come over here to my drive. And one of the things I can do, as we showed you before, is go to add a link. Add that there. So I could just say our course spec. Don't spell that wrong. and please read. You'll see that that's already made a draft of that post for me up here. And I can choose a topic for it to go into, so that's going into the induction topic. And I could add some other stuff if I wanted more files for them to read in there. So I just hit post. And that now has added that just as a file that they can access and look at. So for a pupil, we kind of have a quick wee look at that from a pupil's perspective. We'll just refresh the classroom. And we can see that that's now been posted there. If I go to the Classwork section, I can see that in there we've got higher course specs. So if I click on that, I can go and find that as a student and I can have a wee read at it. And if I had any queries or any problems, then I could obviously go to the stream and I could post a wee question, and that would be a kind of an effective way of communicating that. Now, one of the other things that we might create is a question. So questions are really handy if you just want to ask a single question, and particularly if you want it to be open to the whole class where others can see each other's answer rather than all being kind of closed down like it would be in an assignment where you're the only one that can really see what they're doing. So if I wanted to create a question about shutter speed, where's the relationship? My fingers are very clumsy today. Where's the relationship between shutter speeds and movement? I can post that. I could add instructions if I was going to add any media that they needed to use as part of the question, but there's probably not much point for a straightforward question. I can decide whether I want it to be a question that has a certain number of points attributed to it, or I could leave it ungraded. I can set a due date if it was maybe a homework task. I can also add it to a topic here, for example, exposure, exposure probably makes sense. And I can do a couple of other things here. So I can change whether students can reply to each other, because when they've answered as a short answer, if it's a text question, they can then, when they've posted their answer, they can see all the answers that other people's have put up. So that can be quite interesting for, discussing different people's opinions on something and allowing them to engage with one another. And you can also change whether they can edit their answer after they've already posted it. So you might want to show them something, then ask them if they still feel the same way. And if they don't, they could go back and change their answer. One of the other really handy things here is that, as well as a short answer, you could just make it multiple choice. And so if you make it multiple choice, you could give them a couple of options. So, for example, the shutter equals less movement. And I could just copy that quickly, paste it in here, and kind of make some variables of the same question and so on. And then I could ask that as a multiple choice question, and rather than have to write an answer, pupils can just choose their option and submit it. This will not maybe allow quite as much discussion, but it might be a quicker way of doing something like a poll. So anyway, I mean, it's really up to you to decide how you want to use it, but it's certainly potentially quite a handy, quick way to just check understanding, or do we start out the lesson or an exit pass or something like that. Now, if I go back here and I change this to short answer, I'll just post this question so you can see how it looks for a pupil. Probably running close to my 10-minute limit here, so I'll be as quick as I can. So as a pupil, if I refresh the page, I'll now see on the stream I've also got that this question has been posted. So if I click on that, what is the relationship between shutter speed and movement? Okay, so faster shutter equals less blur / movement. And then you'd hand it in. You could also leave a private comment, which won't be visible to anyone else, but that answer there is now visible to everyone. And if you want to go and see what everyone else said, you can click on that to see what everyone else said. And obviously in this example class, there's only one pupil, so it's not very exciting, but if there was a class full, then you'd have all of your pupils' responses here, and you could let them reply to one another, leave comments, see what they thought. You can also share private comments with them back at this point, or they can share private comments with you. So that's kind of really just how you use questions. They're pretty straightforward. If you have a look at the menu while you're setting them, they're pretty self-explanatory. And as with everything else, they can be posted into a specific topic.